The Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education regular meeting, August 23rd, 2011. We do not have a secretary present tonight, so could I have a motion to nominate a secretary pro tem? I nominate Terry Carney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Terry will serve as our secretary this evening. Thank you, Terry.
Thanks, Mary Jane.
Could we have a roll call?
Mary Jane Brady.
Present.
Terry Carney, present. Al Pfeifhaus. Eric Wagner.
Present.
Leanne Charlo.
Present.
Mark Berry. Susan Ryder.
Present.
Great. First item on our agenda is communication and questions from visitors. Is there anyone who would like to address the board this evening? There being none, let's move on to the first really important order of business, which is introduction of new staff. I'm going to ask the principal of Lake Bluff Elementary School, Shelley Overman, and Nate Blackmer, president of the Lake Bluff Middle School, to introduce their new staff members. Principal?
Actually, Mary Jane, our staff, they're going to introduce themselves.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
please stand up.
They have to go to the microphone.
Oh,
This is quite great.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lynn Pershke. I'll be the special ed first grade teacher.
Welcome.
Hi, Amanda Willie. I was in Lake Bluff last year, but I have a new assignment, third grade teacher. It's nice to be back.
Hi, I'm Bethany Plapp, a new fifth grade teacher.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Kelly Bay. I'm moving from third grade to literacy specialist on the enrichment team, so I'm excited for a new assignment and another great year.
So welcome back.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kate Ritzwaller. This will be my first year teaching and first year at Lake Bluff in first grade. So I'm glad to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Catherine Rogers, and it's also my first year, and I'll be in second grade.
Fantastic.
I'm Mary Mink, and I'm feeling very old this evening.
Very old. I'm going to be doing the long term, one day a week for Mrs. Shearhart this year.
Welcome back.
Hi, I'm Cassie Calkins, and I'm the early childhood special ed and kindergarten resource teacher.
Fantastic.
Hi, I am Melissa Pasquesi, and this is my first year here at Lake Bluff, but familiar to the area. I went to school here and grew up here, so I'm very excited to join the kindergarten team.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Fans, clearly.
Hi, I'm Svetlana Klivanskaya, and this is my first year teaching. I'll be doing long term for Brianna in Spanish.
Hi, I'm Brad DeYoung. I'll be the wellness teacher over at Lake Bluff Elementary School.
Great. Is that everyone from the elementary? Yes, it is. All right.
But one more.
Hello, I'm Kristen Zhang. I'll be filling in for Mrs. Leibfried at the 3rd to 5th grade Spanish.
Great. Welcome.
That's all right.
And now our middle school staff.
Yes, I'm Dan Williams. I'll be the new PE and athletic director at LBMS Middle School. So.
Fantastic.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Olmstead. I'm going to be teaching drama for 6th through 8th grade.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hesch, and I'll be teaching 6th grade science.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Handworker, and I'm going to be the special education teacher working with 6th and 7th grade students. Very excited to be here. I will be helping teachers to differentiate the curriculum to help meet the needs for the students, and I'll be working with the students to help meet their IEP goals, and it's going to be a great year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Annie Chance, and after being out of the district for 7 years, I am thrilled to be back teaching 7th grade math.
Welcome.
I'm Sue Road Kay, and I am so happy to be everybody thinking of me as new this year. It's a definite highlight. I am thrilled, excited, and happy to be making the move from 5th grade over to elementary school. I have a math minor and get an opportunity to use it teaching 6th grade math over at the middle school. And looking forward to also a very wonderful year.
I'm Kathleen Turner. I'm going to be the intervention specialist at the middle school.
Great.
Hi, I'm Joe Jaxie. I'll be doing a one-year position for 8th grade science at the middle school, and my wife and I are glad to make the Lake Bluff community our home.
Fantastic.
Hello, I'm Jamie Schultz. I'll be teaching 6th and 7th grade Spanish. I'm excited to be back because I was here the year before last for a long-term maternity. So thank you.
Welcome back. Is that everyone? Well, that's a fine-looking group. Welcome to all of you, and we're looking forward to a terrific year.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we will move on to reports. Do we have a PTO report? Yes, we do. Apparently, these guys don't want to sit through the rest of our business. Exciting though it may be. Okay.
Had a long day.
Okay. I'm Kate Amaral, the PTO president, and this is the update for August, I guess, the whole summer, basically. I'm going to start with the middle school and the activities we've been doing there. We helped out with locker day and school kit distribution. I believe, too, that now the digital camera equipment has arrived that was purchased by the PTO for the new digital photography class. So looking forward to hearing about that. Also, too, we're working on getting chair quotes, folding chairs for, originally it started as a middle school need, but we realized looking at buying at 500 chairs, and the chairs are shared between the two schools, that we're now looking at purchasing 700 chairs for both schools, so everyone can sit in comfort for all the concerts and performances. So we're looking at quotes for that right now, and I think we've chosen a chair. We had some chair tryouts, right? So hopefully that will be handled soon. Moving on to the elementary school, we had purchased wheeled cabinets for the teachers from last year's fundraiser. Hopefully all the teachers are enjoying that new storage. We have Meet the Teacher tomorrow. We have a lot of sign-ups there for all of the PTO activities that happen throughout the year, and we also helped with the school kit distribution at the elementary school. This year, one change is that we're putting the option to purchase food day in our web store. We've been working on that this summer. It should be ready to go when we're ready to start the ordering. I think the first food day is October 7th, so that will be up and running by then. District PTO, we have our fall fundraiser, which is wrapping. We call it the wrapping paper fundraiser, but there's going to be a wide variety of things to purchase, a lot of eco-friendly options as well. Brooke Davis is handling that fundraiser. Of course, plans for Pumpkin Fest are already underway. That's October 14th and 15th. A thank you to Christina Mills and Stacy Salanti, who are the co-chairs, and Rich Martin and Rob Davis are putting the pumpkin chase together this year. And also the spring fundraiser planning is also underway. Barb Moore and Heather Kerr have already got that rolling. Our enrichment program for both schools is going through some final touches.
Last year, we started taking student input from the middle school and creating the programs for those kids, and that worked really well. So we've done that again this year. And at the elementary school, we always get teacher and principal input. So those are being finalized. And I think that's it.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Welcome back. Okay, we don't have a superintendent's report this evening because Dr. Martindale is out of town. Student services and curriculum. Dr. Wertz?
Yeah, on the note of curriculum, I'll just say that Joanne Trahanis has been working in district, working with principals, working with myself, working with Dr. Martindale to kind of assess where we're at, what we need, and it's been a real pleasure to work collaboratively with her and look forward to continued assistance and collaboration and improvement. In the area of staff development, we started with new teachers on Monday and had a full day with them. And today we welcomed the entire staff back, including all of the new teachers, veteran teachers, and our paraprofessionals, and had training all morning. We satisfied some of the new legal requirements mandated by the state of Illinois in the Diabetes Care Act. We had a diabetes care educator come in and talk to staff, arranged by Maggie, and she did a great job of getting us up to speed on that. We will, of course, spend more time with individual student plans as they come up. Then we had legal updates from the special ed attorney from the district, Terry Engler. She talked about ethics for educators. She talked about sexual equity, harassment in the workplace, gender bias, those kinds of things, and did a big section on student records and confidentiality and the use of electronic information for teachers and students and parents and exchange. And it was a pretty detailed presentation with staff listened intently, which is good. And I believe I heard from the principals it's spurred some additional conversations, so it's good to get those topics out on the table and handle things as we should legally for student record information.
Dr. Wertz, when you talk about electronic communication, are we talking about something more than email, like social media, or just the...
All of the above. Any kind of texting, sexting,
things like Facebook and Twitter?
Yes, MySpace, all of those, all of the above, yeah. Cell phone use, all of that.
Great. That's it?
Okay.
In terms of our president's report, I had the pleasure yesterday morning of meeting the new staff and saying hello to them at the beginning of their day, and Mark stopped in to say hello to them at lunchtime, and then today Leanne and I both were there this morning when they kicked off the meeting, and the group looked all shiny and new and ready to start the season, so that was nice this morning to see them. And then on Thursday, I think some of us plan to be around for the lunch that's provided by the district for the staff. So. That's all I have to report for this week. Anything else? Our first discussion item is the superintendent search firm. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything else to talk about. We did meet 2 search firms on Wednesday evening of last week and talked to each of them at length. They both made proposals for how they would conduct a search with us and for us for our new superintendent. Anybody have any questions or anything to discuss?
I would say that I thought both of them did a nice job with the presentations, and I appreciated them coming in.
I agree. I thought they both did a nice job also and answered our questions very thoroughly. And anything else? Okay, great. We'll be taking action on that later on in the meeting. We move on to action. Personnel recommendations. Could I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approves the personal recommendations per the attachment.
Second.
Any discussion? We saw most of those people here this evening that are listed on that page, so if there is no discussion, could we have a vote?
Mary Jane Brady?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to approve the contract with School Leader Solutions. That's our curriculum director for this year. Could I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approves the contract with Joanne Trahanis of School Leader Solutions to provide curriculum and instruction for the 2011-2012 school year.
Anybody have any questions or discussion on that?
Just to connect the dots, that's the consultant that Dr. Wertz was referring to a while ago. They've already had discussions and stuff going on.
Is it our expectation that this will be sufficient to fill the need that Andy left behind?
I think her first task, as she and Ben have discussed, is to take a look at our curriculum from top to bottom and really make a thorough assessment of not just the curriculum, but perhaps our staff needs or our staff development needs. I know she did meet with Andy and with Dr. Martindale, and she's met with both Shelley and Nate, correct, to talk about some curriculum things. So I think her first line of a business is to really take a good, thorough look at us. She comes from River Forest, which is a district that's very similar to this district, so I think she has in her mind what she would see as a starting point. So I think it'll be very interesting information.
So from this contract, it looks like she'll be working for us around 100 days, maybe a little more than that this year. Does that sound about right?
I think so, and I think that probably we'll know more once. I think her, like I said, her initial task is going to be this assessment, and so I think that there is some fluidity in that. But I know that she and Ben will be talking about that over the course of time, where she is and that. But I think that's the general view.
And the reason I'm asking, because I've had some community members ask kind of, where we are with that, and if, time-wise, are we going to replace the time that Andy was with us? And it sounds like it's going to be maybe even a little bit more than what Andy was doing.
I believe it will be, yes.
We had a third of Andy's time, I believe, right, Ann? Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Could we have a roll call vote here?
Susan Ryder?
Yes?
Mark Berry?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. Mary Jane Brady?
Yes. Going to approve the contract for our superintendent search firm. I move that the Board of Education approves a contract with Hazard, Young, and Atia and Associates in the sum of $16,500 for the purpose of conducting a search for a new superintendent.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Terry, could we have a roll call?
Sure. Mary Jane Brady?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes. Okay. Policy approval. Could I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approves the revisions to policies, administrative procedures, and exhibits as per the attached.
Second.
Does everybody remember we spoke about 5 policy revisions last month, but we decided to table one of those for some more information. So Ben has provided us some further information about setting a policy on our fund balances. So that one is not to be voted on tonight, but the other 4 are. So.
Mary Jane, I think there was one that we were not going to vote on yet, also regarding the media, use of media.
Oh, okay.
Technology.
That's the one that we took off the board.
That's right.
He actually has written a rough draft of the fund balance policy.
So all in favor is a vote.
Let's just do a roll call vote so we can make sure we're covered.
Okay, Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. And Mary Jane Brady?
Yes. Okay. Approval of the 2011-12 tentative budget.
I move that the Board of Education approves the tentative budget for 2011-12 as per the attachment.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that? Jane, do you have anything to add?
No, just that, yeah, the committee, or the board did discuss this at the committee of the whole meeting a couple of weeks ago. In your board packet, I did include the narrative to go along with the budget, I think, which should prove helpful and answer any questions you may have. Unless you have any other questions right now, I'd be glad to answer them. How does this budget compare to the long-range kind of forecast that you have done over the prior years? Are we coming in about where you thought?
I think we're coming in a little bit better at this point in time, because 3 years ago, I would have been projecting out payroll a little higher than what it's going to be. That's a big piece. So we're actually looking a little better than we were.
And to what do you attribute that?
Well, we cut staff. I'm glad you asked that, because I prepared myself.
Well, it's just kind of amazing. We've had to, I try to anticipate as best I can. Just to give you an idea, for the 2010-11 school year, with teachers, support staff, and administrators, we had 132.57 personnel, FTE, or full-time equivalents. For the 11-12 year, we're at 129.97. So we're down 2.6 personnel. Also, with the retirements and resignations, et cetera, for this year, we've made some payroll adjustments in a positive favor as well. And insurance came in a little better than what I had forecasted as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? Okay, Terry, we have roll
Mark
call.
Berry?
Yes.
Mary Jane Brady?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. Leanna Charlo?
Yes.
Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We need to schedule the date and time for our budget hearing. Could I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education schedules a date and time for the 2011-2012 budget hearing.
Second? Discussion on that?
You, by law, we have to have a hearing on the budget prior to the adoption. You will adopt the budget at the regular September meeting. So the budget hearing will be held immediately prior to the September meeting at 6:30 p.m.
So that's September 27th, 2011, at 6:30 p.m.
That is correct.
Here,
That is
in
correct.
this
Right
room.
here.
Right.
Right here, yes.
Any discussion on that? Terry, can we have a roll call?
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Leanna Charlo?
Yes.
Terry Carney, yes. Mary Jane Brady?
Yes?
And Mark Berry?
Yes.
Okay. Job description language for the technology specialist.
I move that the Board of Education approve the language in the job description for the technology specialist position as per the attachment.
Second.
Discussion on that?
Just wanted to clarify, this is the technology curriculum specialist, which is currently Lori Brown's position, and what we're doing is just kind of aligning her job description to better fit what she really does for the district. And
So just sort of clarifying in practice what she does.
absolutely.
Any other discussion on that? I think, can we do this all in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none. Okay. Possible action as a result of closed session, there is none. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion?
I move we approve the following items on the consent agenda. You want me to read them all?
No.
No,
Should be on
and
this.
they're also shown on the television screen, so they can see those.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Okay. Jerry, can we have a roll call?
Mary Jane Brady?
Yes?
Terry Carney, yes. Leanna Charlo?
Yes.
Eric Wagner?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
Thank you. New business. First reading of Board Policy 4.20, Operational Services Fund Balance. This is what I was referring to earlier. Ben has provided us some information. We're not taking any action on this tonight, but we will be discussing this further. Terry, I think, had mentioned last meeting that, or asked the question, how do we decide how much money to keep in our funds in the various, across the various funds? And I think that this is something that we'll all be better for, having a policy that actually defines that. So I don't know, probably maybe discuss this again next month, maybe with some more information, and then perhaps the following month be looking at an actual policy, maybe a policy statement. So any other discussion on that or questions? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I read through the articles that were provided to us and on the recommendation for a 25% minimum balance. Is that the correct wording?
That's right.
Range.
25%.
The range.
Yeah, and in the articles that I read, I didn't see a lot of data for exactly why they make those kinds of that recommendation. Often that kind of stuff comes from history and rules of thumb, and I'm just kind of curious a little bit more detail. Like, maybe Jane's person answer that. In your experience, is
I'll
that
tell
a
you,
typical number? Or?
the minimum of 25% really relates to the score that the State Board of Education gives a district on its financial position. And that's an important element. When your total operating funds fall below 25%, then you are kind of deemed to be in some peril. And the lower that fund balance is, of course, if your negative fund balance is, you are scored very low. Anything above 25 at a minimum, you are meeting the minimum guideline that the State Board of Education uses to establish the score for your financial health. Having more than that is always a good thing, especially for those districts who are more dependent on state funding, which we're not. However, it's always good, just like home, to have 6 months' worth of cash on hand because things do arise. Also, by establishing fund balances and increasing those fund balances, at some point in time, and it is most always the case, at some point in time, your revenue and expense lines will cross, and that we experienced that here just a few years ago, which is why you were able to pass a referendum in this community. They were very generous to approve an education fund rate increase. We want to put that down the road as far as we can. So by establishing these fund balances, when we hit some rainy days, we can kind of weather the storm and not have to go back to a taxpayer and ask them to raise their taxes.
How does it affect the bond rating over time?
Well, it's a positive for your bond rating to have good positive fund balances. So we're financially healthy at the moment, but we want to stay that way. And also having a guideline, when we look at projections, and at some point in time the whole board will look at our projections and discuss those, we want to be proactive. We don't ever get behind the 8 ball and have to make some drastic decisions financially. We want to look ahead and look at some forecasts and say, what can we do now? It looks like 7, 8 years from now we're going to be below our 25% minimum. What can we do now to maybe avoid that? So it helps with planning and decision making.
Are there, just to be the devil's advocate, are there situations where 25% doesn't cover it? Could you dream up scenarios where that wouldn't help?
Well, if our facilities were not as in good shape as they are now, older facilities, if something major happened, then yes, if all of a sudden your roof caved in or a boiler blew up or something, you need to have money in the bank to pay for those types of things. Capital issues are.
Our maintenance.
That's one area that comes to mind quickly.
Well, so this policy said 25%, but I was curious because I know I've read some things in the newspaper recently where different districts have had more than 25%, and I'm just curious to know if, like, what you're actually, when you're planning, if we need the 25 in order to keep our good score, right, if we need that minimum, is there a number you can share as to where you are more comfortable with us, or information about what districts typically do?
Well, there are a lot of districts who would like to have our books. And I don't mean to be flip about that, but there are districts who are struggling to make payroll. We don't have to worry about that. We don't have to issue loans to borrow against future taxes, which are called tax anticipation warrants. We don't have to do that. We want to stay that way. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or not, but 25% is a minimum, absolute minimum. You want to have more. One operating fund might be a little healthier one year than another one, which has happened to us in the past as well. So you might be, we need to have the education fund help subsidize transportation or something to that effect. That can happen in school districts from time to time. And we're really looking at the operating funds, which is your education fund, your operation maintenance fund, and your transportation fund. Those are your 3 day-to-day funds that pay for us to function and operate and meet payroll and run buses, et cetera.
I guess what I'm wondering is, we're saying 25%, but is there another percentage that you sort of work with thinking, okay, that's the minimum, but we really ought to be at 50, or we really ought to be at 100%? Or no?
I think it's good to have the 25% as an absolute minimum to use for long-range planning. We don't ever want to get below that, and if we can remain above that, that's great.
Yeah, I think when I raised this, really wasn't about a minimum, it was more or less about a maximum.
Yes.
And the article doesn't address that. And what it does tell you, though, is that you don't include your long-range capital plans in these assessments, which is interesting because that's sort of the way we were looking at it. So I think we certainly need to discuss it further, but I think if our attitude is that we need reserve funds to fund long-range capital needs as opposed to going back to the community for a referendum, we should understand what that is and make sure it's clear to everyone as we go forward, because to Leanne's point, there is a lot of sensitivity on that ratio getting over 100%, and people wondering why you keep asking for more money when you have such healthy reserves. So I think that's really where this discussion ultimately has to go, is what is the maximum, and what do our long-range needs really mean to us, and what do we think we have to do with the money that we do have? Because
Well, I think, and this comes to the discussion that we'll be having about our long-range projections and the board's comfort with what those projections look like, and helping to plan ahead and what direction you want to take.
Do we have a long-range planning process that we?
As for
engage in?
financially?
Financially, or in terms of
You
buildings and grounds and
Well,
everything?
they're
It all comes back to finances.
It does come back to finances. I typically give the board at least once a year, and we really need to do it probably twice a year, a 5-year projection, cash flow projection. We estimate revenues and expenditures across all the funds. So we need to take a look at that. In addition, the board has indicated they want to look at some long-range facilities planning and operations. We'll do those independently, but they'll be connected. So we'll see what our financial range or projections indicate. What is our plan, our desire? What direction do we want to take for facilities, and how can we marry the two?
There's been talk about that.
Yes.
Great. Anything else? All right, so we'll be talking more about that policy as time goes on, both from establishing the policy for what we'd want as a minimum, and then also for what we would feel would be comfortable for a maximum, in light of a long-term facilities plan, perhaps. Jane, am I clear on this, too, that some districts, rather than using a percentage, use a number of days that they could operate for their fund balance?
Possibly. Most other districts that I speak to, other business managers, we typically talk about percentage of fund balance.
Thank you. Any other new business? Old business, middle school chiller update. Ben has been providing us with a weekly update, and he's also been providing the folks who live in the neighborhood with the weekly update. He has spoken several times at length with Mr. Rubino, and I believe that he has made some pretty clear suggestions of what he thinks might help improve the noise coming from the chiller. Dr. Martindale has also spoken with Dr. Schomer, who is a consultant in industrial noise, is a member of the Acoustical Society of America. He is going to take a look at Mr. Rubino's suggestions for improving the sound, and then give us some guidance, or perhaps just say that I think that's exactly what is going to improve it. So we're right there in that process that Mr. Rubino has given us some suggestions. Dr. Schomer's going to take a look at those, and Mr. Rubino is very comfortable with that being part of the process. So that's where we are on the chiller for this week's update. So any questions on that? Or I'm not sure how many that I can answer. Dr. Martindale could probably answer them better, but.
I was just wondering, and I'm guessing this is one that Dr. Martindale has to answer, but if they've talked at all about timeframes, how long Dr. Schomer would take to make his recommendations, or when, we might be getting to making some decision.
Best I could tell, there wasn't a specific thing, although I know that Ben has been back and forth in contact with them fairly often this last couple of weeks, so I think that he's trying to move it along.
So it's moving ahead.
I did have a conversation with Dr. Martindale, and a couple of things. He did say that Dr. Schomer has already been in contact with previous consultants, has received data, and has already been here and has started his process, whatever that is. So he's on it. And then the other thing, in case people who are watching this don't know, apparently Dr. Schomer is, in his niche world, is very well known in this industry. He's a professor at the University of Illinois, and I guess he's a bit of a rock star in that universe, but however small that universe is, but well known.
Hopefully he wears ear protection when he's doing his rock star thing. So anyway, we do seem like we are moving along on that, at least in getting some information. So that's, I would expect that next meeting we'll have quite a bit of information about where we might be on that. Any other old business? All right. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that at 7:26 PM that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. You're adjourned.